I'm Jim,
And I'm Lou.
and together we are
The Adventures of Jim Lou.
Jim and Lou. The Adventures of Jim and Lou.
Settle this argument, people.
Settle it
Hurry.
in your comments.
So what's today's adventure, Jim?
Today we are making breakfast sausage. Breakfast sausage. We love breakfast sausage. It's really good. Whenever we find pork on sale, it makes it nice. We can buy it. This happens to be boneless Boston butt. It has the right amount of fat, lean for making sausage, and it's very popular.
How much is the right fat lean amount?
I like to see about 20-25% fat to lean. It seems to be a good ratio. You'll see some recipes that will have a higher ratio of fat, but the 20-25%, and that's what we have here right now, is right in between 20 and 25% fat to lean.
The leaner you go, it may be better for you, but the drier it's going to be. And then, of course, the more fat you put in, it's going to be more oily, and it's going to be...
Tastes good.
I don't know.
Tastes good.
But it'll definitely clog your arteries. So,
Yeah.
So about 20-25% is good.
And also, as Lou has said many times, you know exactly what's going into it. There's no preservatives in here, no anything but the seasoning and the meat going into this sausage here. And we're not going to be stuffing this sausage. We just simply make it, we package it bulk and make patties whenever we decide to cook it. Is that correct?
And so today we're going to actually grind our own meat. We'll show you guys it going through the meat grinder. Don't let that scare you. If you don't have a meat grinder, you can go to the store and buy already ground pork, or you can get a hold of the butcher and have them grind for you as well. So don't let the fact that we have a meat grinder scare you.
Nope. And there's nothing to be afraid about a meat grinder. It works well. It's been our friend making sausage for many years now so far.
It really just speeds up the process for us. I mean, even if you wanted to take the time, you can do it with the regular sharp kitchen knife and chop it up real fine. So
absolutely. And we're going to do, we like it, it's a coarse grind. All the sausage that we do a coarse grind. I like it. It works well. We're making basically a 10-pound batch of breakfast sausage here. We have about 35 plus pounds of meat that we're going to be using over the next few episodes. And, simply left over that we don't use in these 10-pound batches, we'll just freeze. We'll use it to make larb or stir fry or
your imagination's the limit on whatever you use ground pork, or even go back later on and make a small little batch of sausage that you like. So
nothing goes to waste, absolutely nothing. So we try and do everything by weight and volume, and it works out really well, and it comes out very consistent. So breakfast sausage we're going to make today. This is kind of a combination recipe that we got off the internet a few years ago, and we've done things to make it our own, and it seems to be really good. It's got a little bit of bite to it. We do something, we put fresh onion in it, we grind it up with the meat. It does make it, if you don't freeze it, it does make it not last quite as long in the freezer, in the refrigerator, but as long as you're freezing it 3-4 months, 5 months, it's, I've never had a problem with it going bad in the freezer. So with that, you ready to get started?
let's get started.
Let's get started.
I was ready 10 minutes ago.
Let's do the onions first.
Okay, so we sliced up a whole onion and just throw it in there. We're gonna mix all this meat together before we throw it through the grinder.
Yeah, we're gonna mix it up.
And it'll actually help with mixing. When it goes through the grinder, it'll help with mixing everything more.
So What is this?
This is the rosemary and the.
So this is rosemary, and for a 10-pound batch, it's about.
Sorry, that's thyme.
Oh, it is time.
Yeah, it's about time.
Is it about got time? So what does that say? 10
teaspoons of thyme.
10 teaspoons of thyme. Now I like with thyme and with the rosemary. I like to put it in the spice grinder only because that way you're not going to get a big chunk. We're going to get all the flavor from it, and you're not going to get a big chunk in your sausage. So
throw those in there too.
oh, you're going to chop those up?
Yeah, let's chop
Those
those
are.
up.
This is my favorite ingredient. Is crushed red pepper. It's one of my favorite ingredients in here, and
That's about 3 teaspoons there.
about 3 teaspoons. And we said we had about 2.5 teaspoons of rosemary, right?
Yep.
So my wife bought me this handy dandy spice grinder, and it actually has another attachment for doing coffee, so I can do coffee or spices. And I found that it works really well, and it just breaks it up enough to where you're not going to get some pieces that are going to stick between your teeth. It just takes a couple seconds. Oh, it's looking good. It smells good.
And if you don't have that and you're using a meat grinder, the meat grinder will help to chop it up too. This just gets a little bit finer.
Right.
And it'll spread throughout the meat a little bit easier.
And there's still little pieces in there. And we did it for, man, that red pepper. Breathe the pepper. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, we did it. I told you, you almost need to wear a mask. Then they cover this up. But we did it. We did it for a long time without
Let me have that water.
this.
The water. The water.
Water. We're gonna need some more then. And so we did it a lot of times without doing that, but it just makes it a little bit nicer, makes it mix in a little bit more. So we have about 4 tablespoons of brown sugar that's gonna go in here. And again, this has been sitting out a little bit. We'll just crumble it up and get it in here. Make sure there's no big lumps in it. Oh, you're kind of a girly boy today, are you, Lou?
Cut.
No. It's okay. It's working out good. You ready? So, while he recovers, this is salt. And how much salt was this? About 10 teaspoons of salt. And the salt is really important in here as well. You can cut back the salt, but what I found is if you don't put the salt in, the sausage just doesn't taste right. And that's 10 teaspoons for 10 pounds. So that's only 1 teaspoon of salt per pound, really, when you think about it. So black pepper, and this is about 8 teaspoons of black pepper. I love fresh cracked pepper in the sausage. We're going to put a little bit of, this is sage. Now, originally the recipe called for chopped up or ground up fresh sage. I like rub sage. You got to make a correction for 10 pounds. This is about 4 teaspoons of rub sage instead of. Excuse me.
Well, I can see that this video is gonna be a winner
This is
today.
going to be a winner. Excuse me. Go ahead. I'm going to rinse my hands off. Wash my hands. Put another set of gloves on.
So, while we're dying here,
Oh!
we've got 2.5 teaspoons of cayenne pepper
Whose idea was that to
to
put the
do.
red pepper in there in the spice grinder?
And then the final ingredient that we're going to put in there is 2.5 teaspoons of nutmeg.
So, before I put the gloves on,
The onions are making me cry. That's what it is.
the onions are making you cry.
The onions are making me cry.
Before I put my gloves on, I'm going to get some ice cold water. We don't need it.
So you just mix it in real good with the meat. Make sure that the meat picks up all of the seasonings. You can pour a little bit of that water in here. Just a dash.
That's why I just got it.
Water will help to pick up the seasonings.
We'll rinse that tub out a little bit with some water and dump it in with the ground sausage as well to make sure we get all the seasoning in there. And then we're going to grind this together. Then we're going to give it another good mix as well.
So we got a good coating on the seasoning here. So now we can go from here right into our meat grinder. Turn the meat grinder on. Start shoving meat into the hole.
Hey, we're back, and we didn't think you wanted to walk the whole thing grinding 10 pounds of meat. I think when you get a minute or two of it, what? Boring.
Anyway, so we finished our first grind. Back into our tub. We're going to add just a tad bit more water,
And this again will
and
have.
we're gonna mix it a little bit more, and we're gonna just make sure that all the seasoning has been picked up off of the sides of the bin that we're mixing in. If it sticks to the bin, it's not flavoring the meat. So, and
It looks pretty good. I don't see much seasoning stuck to the bin
no,
at all.
I think we did a pretty good job. So we're gonna actually send it through the grinder a second time.
And,
When you're grinding something that's already been ground, especially my grinder's a little bit smaller, so the size balls you put into, you want it to fall all the way down into the auger. That way you don't have to shove it down in there. If you clog it up and use the stomper to try and get it down there, it's really a bit of pain in the arse. To be honest, it just squishes everything around. So here we go with our second grind.
we're back.
So we finished our second grind. This is the final product. All the seasonings mixed pretty well through the meat.
Smells good.
Smells great. We got a couple patties on the stove cooking. Why are we cooking it today? It's not breakfast time. It's more like lunch.
You know what? This is our last chance to make any real changes to this. So before we stick it in the refrigerator, we're going to stick it in the refrigerator for an hour or two just to let all the flavors come together, maybe 3 hours.
And then we'll vacuum seal it in about 1 pound packs.
Right. But this is our last chance to adjust any of the seasoning. So if there's not enough salt, or there's not enough red pepper,
What happens if there's too much?
if there's too much,
You're screwed.
yeah,
Anyways.
We've made this recipe enough times we know. We can add more ground pork to it to kind of tone it down. But once you put like hot pepper in there, or cayenne pepper, or onion, or any of the other the things that are kind of optional in this recipe, they're there. So we try and use it in moderation. We let the flavors come together. We always cook a patty to taste it, and if we're okay with it, then we package it.
Then we package it and freeze it for the months to come. I want to thank you guys for joining us today and listening in and watching us. Watching us almost die when he decided to grind the peppers.
Really?
But
Really? Really?
I want to leave you guys with just one thing to remember.
Like and subscribe.
No, we don't.
Like and subscribe.
She's gonna
All right.
her thing's gonna be on there.
Okay. Her thing's gonna be